Welcome to Global Education and Career Management GECM podcast series. This is the episode number 1 titled Managing the Global Education and Career Opportunities. My name is Daniel Obi. Today's presentation outline, we structured it in such a way that you can the knowledge is put in a systematic way, so that it's part of a lifelong learning that will help you to assess global education and career opportunities. So the presentation outline will have 5 sections. Section 1, introduction. Section 2 is the 3 value proposition. Section 3, section 4, and section 5. So we'll go to the next section. That's section 1, and we'll start which is introduction. We'll start section 1 with Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher, quotation, which is the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. The journey you are taking with us in order to assess all the education and career opportunities in a globalized world will start with this podcast. We want to empower thousands and thousands and millions of our listeners. So we'll start with 3 key questions. Key question number 1 is what self-management. The emphasis is on you. How do you manage yourself to assess the education and career opportunities globally? Key question number 2. How do you, we'll call it education and career opportunity dynamics, because we are in a changing world. The career and landscape is changing with changing technology. So how do you evolve? How do you adjust to benefit from this changing dynamics? Question number 3 has to do with key knowledge and skill set management. So the question is, how do you manage the education you already have with skills in order to pursue the career you so much dream? So in order to address these key questions, we'll be looking at 4 key considerations. Number 1 is self-management. How do you manage yourself? Number 2 is education with career focus. We want to help you to plan your education goals with career focus, knowing full well that the career is changing. The third consideration, or the third consideration, is we're going to help you to adjust, to keep evolving as education and career keep changing. We will help you to change, to have a personality that will change in the direction of the trend. Then the fourth consideration is to become a person of value. Is very important. So to address this, we'll look at section number 2. Section number 2 deals with the 3 value propositions. So the number 1 value proposition is the investment in yourself. How do you invest in yourself? Investment in managing yourself. That's the right expression. To invest in managing yourself. Then also paying attention to education career opportunity dynamics. You have to pay attention. Value proposition number 3 is for you to be a person of value. Being a person of value is very, very important. So we'll pick it one after the other. We'll start with a value proposition number 1, self-management. So the greatest resource, apart from other greatest resources in assessing global education and career opportunities. Is self-resource. You are the greatest resource. So we call it self-resource management, SRM. How do you manage yourself? You start with the first, awareness. You cannot develop or benefit from what you are not aware of. So it's very important that you have to understand your strength and your weaknesses. You have to understand or be aware what is your potential, what are your talents, your gift, because every human being here on earth has something unique about himself or herself. Now, when you become aware of something inherent in you, advantage you have, you start from there. The next question is, how do you transform it? So we'll be looking at two types of transformation: intrinsic self transformation or development, and extrinsic self transformation or development. So, intrinsic self development starts with acquiring knowledge, mental development. The more you acquire knowledge, the more you mentally and intellectually develop. These are permanent changes that nobody is going to take away from you. Then also your skill set, whatever you master, whatever you do, you repeat, do. And once you master it, it becomes part of you. Nobody is going to take that from you. This is part of intrinsic. Then extrinsic is how do you package your uh, intrinsic asset. So after you must have developed yourself, the next is what you call self deployment. Self deployment. So in self deployment, how do you match your education, your skill with the potential problems? Of course, each career is addressing societal problems. So sometimes we will, instead of career or academic research, we call it problems. And then also we encourage people to deploy yourself. Start from where you are. What can you do to help people? What can you do? It doesn't matter how much you got paid or not. So we'll move to value proposition number 2, which is education career opportunity dynamics. There's always opportunity for education and career. So, but how do you assess them? You start with investment in lifelong learning. This is very important. That it's possible that if you are not from a very rich home, because education in a capitalist society, quality of education goes with cost. So, but now the lifelong learning is giving us opportunity to remedy whatever we think we didn't get. So you can get it through online courses, seminars, workshops, conferences, even belonging to a professional bodies and attending professional meetings. That's number one. Then number 2 is application of knowledge. We call it skill development. How do you develop your skill in an era where there is high unemployment, as to a greater people that may not be able to get job because of structural impediment. So we recommend internship. Try to find a place to do internship. Also consider volunteering or a lot of charity organizations that could be doing what you want to do. Volunteer, whether you are paid or not, you are acquiring skill, you can develop skill. Also low wage or salaries, consider low paying wage in order to develop your skill. The number 3 is convert your knowledge and skill set into a value. So how do you become valuable? You have to find a problem, whether you call it a research problem or career, whatever. You have to add value to your skill set and knowledge. And how do you do that? By innovating. Just always make sure that whatever you are doing, add something, go the extra mile. So for you to be a value of, for you to be a person of value, which is value proposition number 3, there are 4 stages. First is knowledgeable. You have to be knowledgeable in your field, whatever you want to study, be knowledgeable there. Number 3, be skillful and competent. Whatever you want to do, be the best. Number 3, productivity. Make sure that you give more than you receive. That's, productivity. You are producing. In other words, whatever you are doing, you are giving more than you take. Then finally, that's number 4, you have to have an impeccable character. I know in the modern world, the politicians, the people, the system could be rigged and all that, but it doesn't matter. Remember, our emphasis is on you. Be the best character that anybody could come across. So we'll go to section number 3, understanding the global education dynamics. So there are key questions we'll be looking at. What the definition of education? What is the purpose of education? What are the possible outcomes for education? How do you manage your educational plan? So you have to know these 3 in order to now manage your education plan. Of course, when we look at what is education, you check there are we have formal definition and non-formal definition. You have Oxford Dictionary definition, you have Wikipedia definition, but we will go with Wikipedia definition. It's a purposeful activity directed at achieving certain aims, such as transmitting knowledge for fostering skills and character traits. Okay, so we'll look at non-formal definition, which is the individual definition. Of course, most people, their definition of education is a passport to good life, to have a good career, for mobility. The higher education you acquire, the chances of escaping poverty. Then also the societal definition, it's a means of mind control and imposition of societal value. So the society define education, not necessarily in addition to helping you to get career, society expect you to have certain level of societal values, shared values. Then different countries define education differently, but in general, for national cohesion and identity. Then also for global definition, means to assess global opportunities and reduce extreme poverty. So now when we look at the purpose of education, the first purpose of education is to acquire knowledge so that you become knowledgeable. Then the second purpose of education is to acquire skills. The third, which could be consequences of that purpose, is career pathway, to have a career. Then number 4, the purpose of education is, we call it education socialization, is to help you form acceptable character. It's very important. But I want to mention that different, like individually, your purpose could be to have a good job, escape poverty, to become professional. But society, to maintain social norms, economic viability, for nations, to have compliant and obedient students or citizens, to produce competitive and economically viable citizens, and also to brainwash and law-abiding citizens. Now, what are the possible educational outcomes? We have tangible outcome and intangible outcome. Tangible outcome involve the process of acquiring knowledge. That's why at the end of the day, schools give you certificate to show, okay, this person has completed bachelor degree, is measurable. Again, skill set. So there are a lot of skill assessments that measure how far you know. Then also possible outcomes that once you see somebody's educated somebody, the level of there are certain things, your appearance, your level of language competence, your level of mental uh, processes, logic. So these are the characteristics trait. Then there are also intangible outcome which that find a way to measure them. Example, a critical thinking is measured through IQ, emotional maturity is measured through IEQ, emotional intelligence quotient. Resilience or adversity uh, is measured through AIQ or AQ. So these are the these are what we want you to know in understanding the global education dynamics. Then we'll go to section 4. Now, having understood the global dynamics of education, the next thing is the managing your educational dream. So the first question we want to address is, how do you manage your education dream? So there are 4 things we want you to know. The first, you have to define your career goal, because education is not a means, it's not an end in itself, it is a means to an end. Therefore, career is the end, or is the end of the means of education. So define your career goal. Do you want to be a medical doctor? What do you want to become? Now, once you define your career or identify your career, then you now define your educational plan. Or you have to sit down to plan, okay, if this is the career I want to be, then this is the what we call the education plan. Then also, then once you have the education plan, you ask yourself, which environment, which society, which country that will be suitable for me to realize this my plan. Now, the fourth one is that you may need to have a mentor. It's very important that you have a mentor. Mentor might be one of the greatest shortcuts from where you are to where you want to be. So if you don't have a mentor, join us in our Global Mentorship Institute. You will enjoy it. So number 2 is, how do you manage educational opportunities leading to your career dream? So of course, maybe the first, the first 2 is essentially before you become 12. Primary school, depending on the country you are and the society. Like if you are in Quebec or France, the government of the provincial government of Quebec and the government of France, they have robust program for pre-primary school. So all parents, irrespective of economic status of the parents, can send their children to pre-primary school, and it gives a student advantage in primary school. So the outcome is physical, emotional, and social and language development are more likely to develop faster. Now, in certain countries, in most of the developed countries, primary schools are free and compulsory. In that case, the quality now depends on zip code. If you are to be in North America, especially in US, in secondary school or high school, that is, there are things you're expected to develop, which will now determine whether you are going to attend the university or not. Then also, when you attend college or university, there are things you have critical thinking, communication, verbal and written, ability to manage yourself and others. So, how do you manage structural impediment and financial constraints? because it's very important. Yes, theoretically, there is a global opportunities in terms of education and career, but also there are unwritten, invisible structural impediment and financial constraints that affect greater percentage of people. So, how identify both visible and invisible impediments? It could come in form of discrimination. It could come in form of poverty. So when you identify it, then avoid self-fulfilling, prophecy, where some of your teachers, the society, they have told you that okay, you are not good, or because your parents are poor, that you cannot amount to. So don't believe what people say you are. Rather, believe what you tell yourself and fight very hard. If you stay with us, you will understand. Then number 3, find alternative route. If the direction you are going is blocked by the society or the government, then find alternative route. That's why I encourage people to join our mentorship institute. Then go the extra mile. It doesn't matter. Then number 4 is, how do you manage the global education and career opportunities? In other words, okay, in terms of course or profession, the question is how availability and accessibility. Sometimes what you want, maybe you want to go to Harvard, but if you don't have the opportunity, what are the universities that are available or colleges that may be available for you? Why not start from the one that is available and accessible to you? The same thing with academic institution. Then the other consideration is financial consideration will affect your ability to assess and manage global education and career. Starting with who fund your education, you have to sit down to answer that question. That is tuition fee and living expenses. So now the next question, the answer, do you need a scholarship? If the answer is yes, then you need to keep listening to our episodes. Then the next thing is available career opportunities, because why not start with the career opportunities that are available to you? You see, life, sometimes you want to go to the moon. Then when you shoot to the moon, if you cannot get to the moon, can you get to the space station? If you can get to the space station, anchor there and refuel and continue. So in summary, in this episode number 1, in summary, what we've learned is we've learned that it is your responsibility to understand the link between education and career. Is very important. Number 2, it is your responsibility to understand, to know that you are the most important factor in education and career dynamics. These things are changing. So it is your attitude, it is your understanding that is more important. Then number 3, since these things are changing, you have to be responsible in invest in your self-resource management through the 3 value propositions. Keep investing in yourself. Keep managing yourself. Keep investing in yourself. Is very important. Then finally, have a defined educational goal. When you have a defined educational goal, then you link it to your career dream, so that by the time you realize your educational goal, it will now automatically serve as a bridge to your career dream. So thank you for taking the pen to listen to this episode number 1. So please press the like buttons, also subscribe, and can you also listen to episode number 2? Then thank you so much, and you can contact us through our email for globalmentors@gmail.com. Thank you and see you in episode 2.